was Halloween night, and the streets were alive with laughter and the rustling of costumes. The smell of pumpkin spice and the sight of glowing jack-o'-lanterns made everything feel festive. I just moved to this quiet suburban neighborhood, and I wanted to fit in, so I decided to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters. I'd never done this before, but it seemed simple enough. Grab a bag of candy, wait for the doorbell to ring, and smile at the kids. My porch was decorated modestly. A few pumpkins, fake cobwebs, and a plastic skeleton dangling from the door frame. At first, the night was perfect. Kids dressed as witches, superheroes, and zombies showed up shouting, "Trick or treat." Their energy was contagious, and I was beginning to enjoy the evening. But around 9 p.m., the trick-or-treaters started thinning out. The streets were quieter now, just the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. That's when I saw the first sign that something was off. A single figure standing under the streetlight across the road. The figure was tall and dressed in a shabby, tattered cloak that dragged along the ground. A mask covered their face, an old, cracked porcelain mask with exaggerated features. The mouth was painted into a wide, unsettling smile. At first, I thought it was just a late-night trick-or-treater. I expected them to walk up to my house, but they didn't move. They just stood there staring. Or at least, it felt like they were staring. I tried to shake off the unease. Maybe they were waiting for a friend, or maybe it was just a neighbor playing a prank. I went back inside, turned on the TV, and tried to focus on the horror movie playing. But then the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there was no one there. Instead, a single piece of candy lay on the welcome mat, a caramel wrapped in faded red paper. It wasn't the kind I'd bought to give out. I glanced up and my heart nearly stopped. The figure from the streetlight was now at the edge of my yard, standing motionless, the smile on the mask gleaming faintly under the moonlight. "Trick or treat," I called out, my voice shaky. The figure tilted their head, slowly, almost curiously, but said nothing. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Look, if you're here for candy, take it," I said, holding out the bowl. They didn't move. Instead, they reached into their cloak and pulled out something. A small, battered notebook. They tossed it onto my porch before turning and walking away into the shadows. I stared at the notebook for a moment before picking it up. The cover was scratched and dirty, and the pages inside were filled with strange symbols and messy handwriting. In the middle of the book, there was a single sentence written in blood-red ink. "Do not blow out the candle." Confused and more than a little freaked out, I glanced at the lone jack-o'-lantern on my porch. The candle inside flickered gently, its light casting long shadows. I went back inside, locking the door behind me. For the next hour, strange things started happening. The TV turned on and off by itself. The lights flickered. My phone buzzed, but there were no notifications. At one point, I thought I heard footsteps on my porch. I peeked through the curtains but saw nothing. Yet, when I opened the door, another piece of candy lay there. This time, a small chocolate wrapped in gold foil. I didn't know what to do. I considered face was cracked even more now, and something dark dripped from the corners of the painted smile. "Trick," they whispered, their voice raspy and inhuman. Before I could react, they raised a hand, holding a candle identical to the one inside my jack-o'-lantern. With a slow, deliberate motion, they blew it out. Instantly, the air around me grew icy, and the world seemed to tilt. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and the figure melted into the darkness, leaving only their mask behind. The next morning, I found myself sitting on the porch, clutching the notebook. The mask lay at my feet. My jack-o'-lantern was gone, and the strange candy had melted into a sticky red puddle. I moved out of that neighborhood a week later, but the events of that night haunt me to this day. Sometimes, I still hear the faint sound of footsteps outside my window, and once, I found another piece of candy on my doorstep. I don't hand out candy on Halloween anymore, and I always may.